your haircut.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and depending on when we leave.
Okay, here we go. So lots of stuff going on in this class. So let's just make sure that we're all on the same page. Did everyone mark that you're here?
I have another one. Thank you. Those are my last ones. I'm promising myself.
This Friday, the next two kids would be due. That would be 14 and 15, which I think is the last two. Okay, so make sure you're there. A few of you have not done the previous two Kias.
Will there be some due next week then? Or are you gonna wait?
As far as Kias are concerned? Nope. Right? If you're all done with Kias, that would be it. Right? Also, there is the slavery article that Lindy was informed. I just informed him that I numbered you and that each of you is responsible for 3 pages. That discussion in Lindy's class occurs, I think, Thursday. So be ready to address Genovese's view of those 3 motivating factors. Did Genovese think slaves were motivated by culture and or financial reward and or fear of punishment? And if so, can you prove it with document evidence? And once you find it with document evidence, find another thing in the article that would be historical evidence. Or you could use anything that you're aware of. But remember, when you quote it, it's document evidence. When you become aware of it, it's historical evidence that you use to prove or possibly disprove the document evidence. Yes, dear.
Are we going to talk about it before Thursday or
in this class?
Yeah.
We'll see. I really want to attack your blue book essays. So that's sort of sooner.
2 weeks.
Okay, I want us to all feel good about
that.
in this class, I've got 2 slides to go over. Shouldn't take too long. And then I'll give you a little bit of time, those of you who are up today, 10 minutes or something, and then we'll attack. Yes, dear. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't even assigned paper number 2. We're not even there. All I'm expecting out of you is be ready to talk about Genovese's view of how many of those 3 factors did he feel were motivations for why slaves worked hard by Thursday in Lindy's room. And for me, let's say 1 week from today. 1 week from today for me, Thursday for Lindy. So those of you who don't have Lindy, you'll be fine. You'll be educated by those of you who are in Lindy's room. Okay, any questions? Schedule-wise? Let's focus on westward expansion and the acquisition of Texas. So you'll notice that this is the Mississippi River. And we, of course, had purchased the Louisiana territory, which is up here. This is Mexico. That is Mexico. And so let's empathize. Does anyone know what that means? Let's empathize. What does that mean? Does anyone know what to sympathize means? If I share with you that my daughter came home and she's crying because she just got a D on a science test, and one of you comes up to me and say, Mr. Potter, I can sympathize with you. What are you telling me?
Relate.
You've actually experienced it.
Empathize.
You've been through it too.
Empathize is you just feel bad for them. You haven't actually been through it.
Okay, very good. Empathize is you can imagine what it was like. You pretend to put yourself in that position. Sympathize is I've been there too. Empathize is wow, I can imagine what that must be like. Let's empathize with the Mexican government. Here you are. You've just declared independence and you've won independence from Spain. This is your country, right? Today it would be California, Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, all the way up to the Oregon territory, right? Put yourself in their shoes. what is on their list of concerns, at least as far as foreign policy is concerned? What's on their list? Hey, we should worry about America. Yes. Why? Why? Aren't we great? Don't they look at us and say, we sure are lucky? This idea known as manifest destiny. Who knows what it means? Not her. Who else knows what manifest destiny is? All right.
Something related to
That's true. Yes, that's right. Does anyone know what manifest destiny is? Yes.
westward expansion.
Yeah. It's the justification of westward expansion. It was the belief it'll happen. It's only a matter of time. We will expand all the way to the Pacific Ocean. We were destined to control all that land. It was almost religiously intended to be so. We are superior politically, democracy. We are superior economically, capitalism. We are superior culturally, America. It's going to happen. Well, Mexico's in the way, aren't they? So they kind of should be worried about that. Anything else on there? Gee, we should be worried about this list. Very good. Maybe Spain is going to look for a way to get back into the fray. Very good. Excellent. Anything else? It's the same problem we had.
So state Indians think that territory is theirs.
Indians. Very good. Perfect. All right. Nice job. So the Mexican government came up with a solution that I think in hindsight, if they were to take a look and say, wow, that decision we made, they would conclude, muy malo decision, real dumb. What they did was they said, hey, Americans, move to Mexico. Come and move to Mexico. Move to Mexico. Now, we have 3 requirements. 1, tú hablas español. Cuanto tú move to Mexico, tú hablas español. ¿Sí? Nosotros no estamos aquí. Pero si tú quieres hablar conmigo, por favor, llamarte tu nombre y yo te llamaré más tarde. ¿Sí? Okay, move to Mexico, and rule number 1,
Speak Spanish.
speak Spanish. Speak Spanish. Rule number 2, tú will become el Catholico. You will become Catholic. Mexico had a required religious membership. We used to as well when we were colonies. We did too, but they continued. You had to become Catholic. And rule number 3, no slaves. No slaves. Okay? So let's empathize. Why? Why would they do that? What is their logic? What was the Mexican government's logic in inviting Americans to move to Texas? Think about the problems they had. And why do they think this will solve it? No, but that's a good guess.
If all the Americans who want to move westward become part of their people, they and themselves are.
Okay, yeah, right. Let's take away the American strength. Let's populate Mexico so that when the Americans attempt to move westward, we got them outgunned. We got them outnumbered. We'll beat them in a military conflict because these people who used to be Americans and are now Mexicans because they're Catholic and they speak Spanish and they didn't bring their slaves, well, then they're all in. They'll suddenly become Mexican because they moved there, see? And they started hablaing Espanol and worshiping the Pope and leaving their slaves behind. And then what about that Indian problem? No, it's solved, right? With the whites moving in, the Indians move out. We were not the only nation to have that solution of, hey, Indians, go over there. We'll leave you alone. Mexicans reached the same conclusion. So, by the thousands, people moved to Texas from America. Okay. So I've got arrows representing the move to Texas, the move to Mexico. Of the three requirements, the people that moved to Mexico, Texas, obeyed none of them. None of them. I ain't speaking Mexican. I'm speaking American. And I ain't going to be no Pope worshiper. I worship my own way. And come on, slaves. And they moved to Texas, bringing their slaves with them, bringing their English with them, bringing their Protestantism with them. Do you see what you've done? If you are the Mexican government, do you see what you've just done? You have just invited a hostile population inside your border. They are now inside your border. And the Mexican leader, does anyone know what his name is? I'd be surprised if he did. I think he was in your Kia, actually. His name was Santa Claus, only not Claus Anna. Santa Anna. He was the ruler of Mexico. Santa Anna was the ruler of Mexico. He quickly realized this is not good. We need to deal with this group. Okay. So I have here in blue the differences between the immigrants and the Mexicans. And oh, how have the tables turned. At this time, Mexico had an immigration problem. The crossing was that way.
How ironic.
They had to deal with those criminal immigrants who were bringing with them their funny religious views and their funny language and their slaves. So that when I have here the three differences between the immigrants, the Americans are the immigrants. Political, they believed in democracy. Mexico had a dictatorship. Santa Anna was a dictator. Culturally, English versus Spanish. Religion, Catholic. Mexico is Catholic predominantly. The United States, not. And then economic, slavery, right? Their anti-slave approach versus the people who moved there generally brought their slaves with them. Okay? So this is obviously going to be a huge problem for the Mexican government. But you'll sort of notice that it's not necessarily an American issue. They moved to another country. These people, they moved to another country. It's not really necessarily the concern directly of the U.S. yet. But it would become so because, as you probably are aware, Texas declared independence.
They did.
They fought a war of independence against the Mexican government. You are looking at this thing called Texas. Today we have the state of Texas, but back then this was Texas. And that is what declared independence. And they fought a war of independence against the Mexican government. Texas takes on the Mexican government. Okay. And this is where the Battle of the Alamo happens. Any of you been to San Antonio? I've also not been there, but I've heard it's lovely. But the Alamo is where the Mexican army ended up surrounding a Texan army. And here's something that there's two or three things that most Americans don't realize. Number one, the Battle of the Alamo was not an American battle. We were not in it. And number two, the Texans lost. They lost real bad. Everyone died. Everyone, except they let one slave woman go free. And they marked her and said, now tell everyone what you saw here. Ah! It's horrible. Go out that door. Good dog. Texas wins its independence, though, right? We're not going to fight the battles, but they win their independence. And they immediately, here's where the U.S. is drawn in. The Republic of Texas immediately says, hey, U.S., want to annex us? Does anyone know what annex means? Take over. Hey, can we join the U.S.? And that shouldn't really surprise you. It's full of Americans. It's full of people who don't speak Spanish, never intended on becoming Mexican citizens. But it's that third little pickle that caused such a ruckus here. They immediately asked to be annexed. Should the U.S. annex Texas? Be the champion senator who argues no. And why not? Why wouldn't you expand? Why wouldn't you want Texas to become part of the U.S.? Okay, a potential conflict with our friendly neighbor, Mexico. They wouldn't be happy about that. Very good. Any other issue?
Slave state.
Very good. There it is. Texas is going to join as a slave state. That would be 2 more slavery senators and however many more slavery representatives. They could potentially legalize slavery in this whole territory known as Louisiana. So there was an argument that no, we should not do this. And the second question was, did we even have the authority to do so? Where does it explain in the U.S. Constitution, here's how you annex territory? It doesn't! So can you? Here's the old Jeffersonian Hamiltonian debate. Again, it doesn't say you can, but it doesn't say you can't. Okay. Slavery is the big concern here. Did the U.S. annex Texas? Yes. That's one of those obvious questions, right? Yes, they did. Texas joined the U.S. But as Jack points out, that is going to make Mexico really angry at us, which will lead to a conflict in the near future. Okay, that's it as far as note-taking is concerned. We'll start, let's say, in about, is 5 minutes enough?
Yeah.
5 minutes? Okay. We'll start when the big hand is on the 12, which is 4 minutes. And the yes side, you are up first. So yes to the question. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's I forgot what the question was.
All right. So
I'll go.
Where are they at? We did
Eve
Did
emailed
you-
it.
she emailed it to me.
I don't know.
You don't know what it is.
Should we
feel like
go around
mine's
it and
not
look at our
right.
slides real quick?
Did anybody read mine?
I only read yours and I looked at it when I was in hospital.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I have yours.
Oh, there it is.
This is yours, right?
Yeah. The one called Jefferson Hamilton debate.
You said now they're gonna.
Ready?
It's in the locker room.
All right, come. You're gonna grab it right now.
I have to do a presentation in like 2 minutes.
I just
Can I do that?
After presentation.
Okay.
Just tell me.
Should I just not even have this? No, that was like your whole argument. Well, yeah, but like I should have first the argument wasn't. I know you should do that.
All I did.
Lindenberg's right there.
Yeah, he just came on to us. He said after presentation to go.
She's gonna go get our jerseys.
Oh, yeah, mine's my
Yeah,
line.
that's right.
Yeah, well, we're just gonna.
I don't even care.
Ours is kind of organized. Like, we never got together. It's like,
Yeah, what color?
Can you also grab some shorts for me though?
What color do they have?
You know, they're like, what about this? Look at that. Yeah, good point. Like, okay. Like, I don't know how to fight about things. Yeah. Like, I don't get hyped about this stuff.
It's already happened, so.
Yeah. Nothing. My stomach Your shirt is cropped.
Can't see anything, the leggings are so high.
I just did. You just pulled up. You're distracting me from my work. Yeah.
Wait, we're going first?
Yeah. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
goes first.
Can I have some?
Yeah.
My mouth hurts so bad. My wires are way too long, and they're like. They do like a bunch of. I added trans bands, so my.
Oh my God, you're thinking it's way too serious. No, I got bored.
Okay, Mr. Barry's going to render his verdict about the last debate, which was the issue on the Sedition Act.
I'm
Free
gonna stand
speech.
here. I'll click.
Okay, floor's yours.
This one was super duper hard. I mean, it really was. I could not. Everybody made some really good points. When you think about it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense on that side. Then like, oh wait, no, that makes sense too. So it was really tough to rule in favor of anybody. So everybody was no, not everybody. I'm gonna go with the pro group on this one because if they're pointing out how it helps keep young nations together. The Miller test, the libel and slander laws, the copyright and trademark materials. We already do kind of limit free speech anyway. There's just an extent to it. And I think the cons group actually sort of in a weird way agreed with that it was okay. But there always is those, the slippery slope thing where you can't go too far, but you have to find that nice balance. So the pro group, good job.
Very good, but I will mirror what he just said. Both sides did. But I require that the jury find a winner. Okay, looks like we're ready. Keep in mind, those of you out there, rule number one, get out your phone. Erda?
Does he want it recorded?
Oh.
What am I?
Keep in mind, I will tell you that.
Okay.
So the idea is, the question is this: should states have the right to nullify federal